All right, it is the top of the hour. It is 9 o'clock on the west coast of Canada, 1 p.m. in Brazil at the moment. So welcome everyone to the Vancouver Power BI and Modern Excel User Group Meetup for Thursday, April 3rd. We've got a cool session coming up with the best way to learn Excel here, or coolest way to learn Excel. But before we do that, we're going to dive in and just do the standard. Oh, here we go. Thanks to the sponsors that will help us get this thing up and running and going. SkillWave being the training company where you can learn better and faster, and we teach amazing things at SkillWave, including Power Query and dimensional modeling and so many other things. Excel Guru is the parent company of SkillWave, as well as the creator and distributor of Monkey Tools, an add-in to help you build better Excel models faster. And let me just go and mute someone's mic because I can hear it in the background here. If I can just find it, because of course, I doesn't sound like I've got any echo going on any now as well, but I'm just going to go and check that real quick. Apologies for the interruption there. Awesome. Okay. So our next meetups that we have coming up. In a couple of weeks, we've got our very own Joseph Yates is going to be joining us at 10 a.m. Pacific time. We're going to be doing a session on Master the Matrix in Power BI. So all about Power BI's pivot table like object. I'm not going to say it's the exact same thing because it's definitely not, but if you want to learn how to master the matrix, it's going to be a fantastic session. Followed up, we've got our good friend John Peltier is going to be returning to us on May 1st, and he's going to be talking about something cool and interesting. We were bouncing some ideas around at the MVP Summit, but I haven't got that one quite nailed down yet, but it's going to be a fantastic session as always with John. So those are now open for RSVPs. Don't forget to join up, and we'll hopefully see you at one of those as well. As far as Monkey Tools goes, I haven't released anything in the last couple of weeks because I've been a little bit busy at a conference and got some stuff going on vacation-wise, believe it or not, today and this week. But one of the biggest things that we have added to Monkey Tools in the latest releases, Center Across Selection. A cool thing is that now if you actually click on the Center Across Selection button, which is right on top of your Merge and Center menu, we actually put the correct command there first. It will now uncenter if it's already centered as well, which is kind of nice. Of course, our BiblioMonkey, we've added support to import multiple items via an MTVM file and export them to Monkey Tools backup files as well. And of course, there's always our bug fixes. If you're interested, you can download your copy at Monkey Tools, get started for free, and you can actually do a ton of stuff for free with Monkey Tools where you don't ever have to buy a pro license, although we love it when people do. My Excel Fundamentals Academy, fantastic program for getting you skilled up and give you some, coverage of all those knowledge gaps you might have in a self-taught journey. We teach you formulas, pivot tables, data visualization, get you started in Power Query. If you're interested in this, our next semester kicks off on April 9th. There's tons of training here, access to my live Ask Ken Anything sessions, lots of recordings and Power Query recipes. It's a great program for sort of filling in those knowledge gaps that you've got along your journey. Or maybe someone on your team, you want to get skilled up to a comfortable intermediate level in Excel. This is a great program to look at. For those of you who are already past that and want to get into our big program where we actually go and really teach you some crazy stuff around Excel, this is our Self-Service BI Academy. Next kickoff again is next Wednesday, April 9th. And in this one here, we talk about Excel, Power Query, Power BI, Power Pivot, DAX measures, all kinds of good stuff here. There's a huge amount of material inside this, access to my Ask Ken sessions, books, all kinds of stuff. We even give you a Monkey Tools Pro license. You should definitely check that out if you're interested in a fantastic and comprehensive training program that will take your skills to the next level. This meetup, as all meetups, is recorded and will be hosted on the SkillWave YouTube channel. Just note on this particular one, I will not be posting the recording until next week because I am actually out on vacation this week, even though it doesn't look like it right now. So I will be producing this back on Monday when I'm back in the office, and we'll have it out then. And once we do, we'll post on the YouTube or on the meetup site to let you know that it is going to be live at that point. If you are interested in coming and speaking to the user group, we would love to have you as well. So, just fill out this little form here and you'll find the links in the files that have already been uploaded at Meetup. Just get in touch with us through this form. We would love to get in touch with you and have you come onto our stage. We're always looking for new speakers that want to share cool and interesting things they do in Excel or Power BI or anything that's tied into those stacks. And on that note, that's it for me. So we're going to go and we're going to welcome our speaker. Klinsmann is going to talk to us about the coolest way to learn Excel via the World Excel or World Championship Challenges. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, Klinsmann. If you want to take over, the floor is yours here.
Okay, thank you very much, Ken. Thank you, everybody who's here to see this madness, this kind of challenge. What is it? How does it work? So I'm here to present you this very cool way of learning Excel. Like challenges are not new, but challenges in Excel with this kind of community, it's very interesting. You can learn and you will learn a lot. I hope you learn something cool with me today. And feel free to ask your questions. I don't know usually how Ken handles those rounds, these sessions, but for me it's very informal. If you have questions, I'll answer your questions, whether it is within an explanation or at the end. So feel free, and then I'll just obey Ken when he asks me or
obey is the wrong word here. That's not the way it goes. So what we figured is this: Klinsmann's going to start doing stuff here. If anybody's got some opinions or if you ask any questions, throw it into the chat. I'll moderate it in with Klinsmann as well as we go along. So feel free to participate as we go along if you like, and we'll try and make this an interactive session. For what it's worth, Klinsmann, I had a conversation about this for about an hour beforehand on how this is all going to work. And one of the things I can tell you about Klinsmann already is that he really loves interaction. So please, share things as we go along, and let's try and make this one fun. So, all right, man, it's yours. Let's go.
Okay. So I'm going to share my screen right now. Okay, I think. Is it okay for you?
Yeah, I look like I've got your PowerPoint with I can see your slides down the left as well as your one in the center.
Okay.
If you're sharing the right screen. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm just going to put it on full screen and then just switch monitors because this always happens. Okay, so
there we go. Cool.
Okay, so a quick run about me. So I'm Klinsmann Langhanz from Brazil, even though my name is nothing Brazilian. It's just a German family name and surname. But Klinsmann is actually the family name, the surname of a German soccer player. So while my mom was pregnant in the 90s World Cup, there was all this buzz. This guy was a great player, and then I got named after him. So that's the story. But I'm Brazilian.
And you probably don't play football either, do you?
Yeah, I mean, in Brazil, everyone plays a bit of. But my talent went to volleyball, which is the next slide here. As I mentioned in the description of the session, here in the left is me, like a young me, 14 years old, long haired, and here in the right, it's me as a former volleyball player and former or hobby guitar player. So those are things I like besides Excel. I'm graduated in civil engineering, and even though I worked in construction companies, I never was the construction site guy. I was always the KPIs guy, the budget guy. So in this company I worked, I always used to teach Excel back in the day to the teams, and that's how I developed my skills at Excel and also at teaching Excel, because we all here know there's always this guy or this girl who knows a lot of Excel and all questions come to you, and with that you also learn a lot. So it's a great thing to be the Excel person at your work or at your surroundings. So that happened to me as well. Nowadays, I have my own company where I teach. Here in the left is me teaching some classes in my university. So back in the day as a student, nowadays I sometimes I get invited to teach them as well. Here in the right is consulting. So I have my own company where I do consulting services and development, but development not that much anymore, but training and consultant, that keeps happening. Another cool thing, I collect the official and original spreadsheet manual since the VisiCalc. So I got the VisiCalc 1979, Microsoft Multiplan 82. For those who don't know, Microsoft was launched in 1985. And this year, Excel turns 40 years old. So before Excel, Microsoft had the Multiplan, their first spreadsheet software. Here's me with the Lotus 123. Even though I'm younger than those softwares, I was born in 1991. I'm 34 years old, but I collect them. And this is some pictures from me in the last World Championship in Las Vegas, because I live in Brazil, but a lot of those vintage manuals and boxes are sold in the US. So I asked my friends, the other pro players and participants in the US, if I could buy the boxes and send to their houses, and they brought the boxes to me in Las Vegas. So here in the right, I had to pay a lot of extra luggage for bringing those boxes and manuals to me here in Brazil. And also by collecting the manuals, I had the opportunity to have a conversation with the man itself, Dan Bricklin, the inventor, the father of the spreadsheets. So it's very cool how Excel can put you in front of people like, I mean, Dan is a living legend. It was from his mind, his head, that the idea or the concept of the spreadsheets came. So it's, as I wrote here, the unthinkable may happen. I'm using the material here as I was a speaker last year in the finals in Las Vegas. So I'm using some of the slides I had there, and this was just an amazing opportunity could have talked to the man itself. Besides that, and that's why I'm here, I run the local chapter, the local branch of the World Championship in Brazil. So here am I in the piano with our own jersey with the Brazil flag. Here a banner for taking pictures, and here's our event last year, the in-person finals. So it's awesome to participate and to be part of a community, and you guys will understand after I finish this presentation and we jump into Excel. So you'll get a feel of it. It's awesome. The community, the Excel and the Power BI community is awesome, very collaborative, helpful. So it's amazing to be part of it. Here we are with this is our trophy. The champion and the second place and the third place trophies are like that. So I have them here right behind me when I finish my presentation here. And so here we are. Here am I also, like in those pictures here in Brazil, I'm the organizer, but in the international, in the World Championship, I'm a player, I'm a participant, I'm a pro player. And we use this term pro player because this is Excel as esports, like Counter-Strike, like Dota, like LOL. So here am I, fully concentrated under the 30 minutes pressure that I'm going to explain to you guys. So the World Championship happened since 2021 in this format, and it started as a financial only a championship, which was called Model Off since 2012, and it closed its doors. It finished its operations in 2020, and then in 2021, a group from Latvia started a similar format, and then it got traction, and then Microsoft got interested, and that was that's the story of how this Microsoft Excel World Championship came to existence. And after the big one happened, then there was they started to like spread the word and creating the local chapters. So I run the operation in Brazil. Brazil was the third local chapter. The first one was Madagascar. The second one was the South African one. And then Brazil was the third one. And here is me in the left playing as a participant in the World Championship. And here in the right, there's me as a case designer, because you'll see there are monthly battles, and in those battles we solve cases. And if we solve cases, someone has to develop the cases. So I had the pleasure of developing some cases throughout the year. And this particular one, I got invited to the main stage to explain, because the semifinals won there in Las Vegas in the Luxor HyperX Arena. The semifinals was one a case of mine, and I was invited to explain it. And I'm going to show you really quickly after those slides here how was the case structured. And that's a bit of how I travel through these things. Here's just an information. It's all in Portuguese, but I have my own Excel online course in Portuguese about solving those challenges. It's called Pro Players Intellect, if I would translate that from Portuguese to English, where I teach the main skills you gotta have. I post all the full solutions, the full models, so people can learn how to think, how those champions think, or how the pro players think. Here's just a QR code to my LinkedIn if you want to reach out to me. I got my YouTube channel, my Instagram channel, but the content, it's all in Portuguese. And also just some quick slides. Why participate in the championship? It's all based on problem solving. So this image over here is from a case called Ship the World. In daily Excel, we never face maps or displacement or things like that. But in the championship, we always have to face some displacement, maps, boards, car races. And this particular case was we had to travel with ships, and depending on the size of our ships, we could or couldn't get across those channels. So if I had, for example, like a small ship, I couldn't go here. I had to like get across all South America and reach the city I was asked to. So there are lots of fun cases, and it's all about problem solving. Another one here, this one is a case of mine. In Brazil, in my social circle, I'm known as the dad joke guy. So I created this case called Perfect Date and Soulmate. And this perfect date, it's about couple dates and also calendar dates. So the case was about treating dates, holidays, when will the people meet or not, preferred days of the week. So it was a case based on dates, and this joke about dates, perfect dates. We had another cool one, which was called Ironman, where we had like running courses, bike courses, swimming courses, and in particular the bike one, we had this change in orientation where we had some steep hills, and here our speed will decrease, but here our speed will increase. So we had to calculate how long will it take us to go across all the laps and stuff, considering the changing speed throughout the whole course. So all kinds of different and interesting problems. And the last one, the cases are also pet friendly. So the case author, Harry Siders, his brother, Dan Siders, has Cooper. So Cooper is Harry Siders' brother's dog. So this case it was very, very fun to solve, because it was about Cooper used to wake up during the night, and depending if it was a full moon or near full moon, he would howl or not, and depending whether it was you or your wife to wake up to calm down Cooper. And there are all of every possible combination, if I was asleep or if my wife was asleep, and if the dog was asleep or not, or hungry or not, or if the day was a full moon or not. So all kinds of nested if statements, and it was a very interesting. All cases are fun. So that's the main topic, because every monthly battle, there's this specific topic, this specific little story where you gotta understand and solve the questions. And about, of course, problem solving, we'll be solving this one in the right, Excel Athlete Basics Revisited. And I posted the link here. I don't know, Ken, how do you share the materials with the participants after the round? But here is the link for downloading the free cases from the FM World Cup, because the company is FMWC, the one who runs the World Championship. So here's the link where you can find and download all the free ones, including this one we will solve today. It is free, but I'm gonna send you the file with my model after the session.
Perfect. And
yeah,
we'll share that via the meetup site afterwards then.
Perfect. And this is just a last slide that I always say that with Excel, we always go to infinity and beyond, because we can learn VBA, Power Query, Power Pivot, or DAX, custom lambdas, regex, Python. So nowadays, if there wasn't enough possibilities, every time we get new things happening and being included in Excel. So it's a lifelong learning. Some people may think that's scary, but some people may think that's a miracle and it's awesome. So that is the last slide, and I think I'm gonna jump right into the challenge we have for today. Do we have any questions until now in this monologue of mine?
We've got one. Excuse me. Scott Warnke is asking, did you ever discover something in those old manuals that you found that you buy that is actually useful in today's applications?
Actually, from my perspective, there's always something new. But what caught my attention was, when were things invented? For example, we will be using today data tables. I don't know if you guys know data tables, but data tables were invented in 1983 in Lotus 123, way before Excel. So data tables, it is a feature of 42 years old. The same as VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP, they were both invented or launched in Lotus 123. But for example, VisiCalc, the first one, what's the word in English? The NPV, net present value. Yeah, it was a function since day zero. It was launched with the first electronic spreadsheet software ever. So there are lots of interesting stuff over there because I mean there are thousands of pages. So it's very interesting learning and seeing how Microsoft was teaching things back in the day when they were like first time out there. So it's very interesting from a learning perspective to dig on those manuals. Okay, so just for you to understand, how does a case work? Okay, first of all, the championship works like that. We always have monthly battles. So January, February, March, April, there's always one monthly battle. And in this battle, which usually is in the last Saturday of the month or something like that, we receive an email. First of all, we have to buy the cases. We buy a ticket for participating in the championship for every month. So this month, April, if you want, you can enter the website, buy your ticket, and at the specific day, you'll receive an email. And when you receive that email, you have like a start button. When you click the start button, starts your 30-minute countdown where you have to download your file, create your model, solve it, post the answers, and send your final answer and submit like your final answer. Because how does the championship works? We have scores, we have points. We can score an amount of points by solving questions. And the first factor is your score, and the second one is the time. So we have 30 minutes for solving a case, but if you manage, if there's a tie in the score, then who send it first like wins. So that's how the championship works. So this you're still you can see my screen, right? Okay, awesome. So I'm just jumping right into it for you to understand. If you have any questions, please can interrupt me. So how does it work? You click on that email, your 30 minutes countdown starts, and then you gotta download your file and start reading it. As I mentioned, every case has a specific topic. This particular one over here, translated to English, Excel Athlete Basics, it was like in Brazil, I created this one as a case 0. It was before the first round, just for people to understand how the championship works. So that's why it's called Excel Athlete Basics. So how does it work? We always have this main block here of instructions. And here I'm just welcoming everyone in Brazil and saying that for this particular case, we're gonna test the user's text manipulation, mathematical operation, criteria validation skills. And specifically that levels 6 and 7, we will have to use the map sheet for solving those particular questions. So how does it work? Here is the map one where we have colors and numbers, but I'm gonna explain that in more depth when we reach the levels 6 and 7. But how does the case work? We always have 5 bonus questions, and we always have 7 regular levels. So level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And each question, whether it's a bonus or a regular one, we gotta solve it based on something. For example, bonus question 1, we require level 1 solved. Bonus 2, we require level 2. But the regular levels 1 to 7, it may depend on the case, because depending on the case, they are linked to one another, or they are independent questions. So if you are confident enough, you can jump right into the 7th question because it's worth more points, and depending on your strategy. And then it comes the strategy, because this is an Excel esport. So you gotta be strategic with your time, with your resources. And that's the basic rules. And after that, we just start solving them. And that's what we're gonna do today with you guys here. I'm gonna read for you, I'm gonna solve. If you have any questions, please write in the chat. And so let's begin. Level 1 is labeled as very easy. So what is this one asking us? For this first question, we want to extract a certain number of characters of a word starting from the left as requested. What are the first characters according to the given word and the number of characters requested? So we always have like the main instructions for the level, And also then we have a little explanation on how the example works, because how does the questions work? We always have some questions to solve, but we're also always given an example. So here they are explaining the example. In example 1, which is this row 51 over here, we have the word filtro, which in Portuguese means filter, where we need to extract the first 3 characters from the left, generating the answer fill. So the example here is we are asked to extract a number of characters starting from the left from the specific word. So 3 characters from the left of this word will result in FIL. So that's how the questions work, okay? So how would you guys who would extract the first words of this, the first characters of this word? And one thing worth mentioning is that everything between quotes is allowed. You can solve it by hand, you can guess it, you can use rand between, you can use Power Query, you can use Power Pivot, pivot tables, you can use whatever is allowed from the native Excel.
Klinsmann, can you use Copilot or any other AI tools? Is that okay? Yeah,
what happened last year, it was the first time Copilot was already out there, and they were showcasing not during the 30 minutes, but Microsoft was using some screen time to show some MVPs using the Copilot for solving the cases. I don't know if it's allowed or not, but what I can say is at this stage, Copilot is nowhere near the top layers. Eventually, it can solve levels 1 and 2 and 3, maybe depending on the case, but during those 30 minutes, it's way better, at least until now, to solve it by yourself than asking Copilot, because sometimes the cases cross tables and the cases have maps and displacements, horizontal, diagonal. So Copilot's not optimized for that yet. And even if it was, it wouldn't be interesting. Oh, here's a championship. Let me use my AI. So what's the meaning of the championship then? Right?
Fair enough. All right, we have a formula suggestion for you for E53. The formula would be equals left G53, comma I53.
Perfect. Let's test it. Just one thing worth mentioning, I'm using my Excel in English. By my local settings in Brazil, instead of the comma, we use the semicolon as a argument separator. So just for you to notice that. So left function of this word, in my case, semicolon, and the number of characters we want. So it seems it worked. We have this feedback over here saying that we got like a green check, but during the competition, we don't have this column over here. We don't have this feedback, and we don't know our score. We only have that after the round finish, and we receive the answers file. So here I'm using the answers file just to show you, but while we're competing, there's no conditional formatting here. There's no score. We don't know. It's totally blind. You don't know your score. Okay. So who asked that? Hal?
That was Blair, yeah.
Oh, Claire. Oh, my bad. Blair. It works. So the way we solved it, we could just double click here, and if it worked, it should work for each and every question. So each and every one we got correct because we got a green mark over here. Each and every one of them is worth 4 points. So 10 times 4, we got 40 points by now, right? So that's how we solve the questions. Of course, this first one is a very easy one, but we'll keep going on and you'll see and understand how things get tricky, even in this first case, which is meant to be like a very easy or a super easy for a player. But remember that this is a case for welcoming people, even though it's a competition. Back in the day, the challenge used to have 3 bonus questions and 5 regular questions or regular levels. Nowadays, we got 5 bonuses and 7 regular levels because then we can make the difficulty curve smoother. Back in the day, there was a big gap between questions, and for having more people participating, the questions they increase not as much from one to the other, right? So I hope you understood how things work, and this was our level 1. Okay, I can see Gabe Sotero. He's a Brazilian. He was the best Brazilian in last month in Brazil and in international one. So congratulations, Gabriel. And okay, so let's move on. Level 2 is labeled as mid easy. For each question, we have 10 numbers in the numbers text field. What is the sum of the two largest numbers presented? So I don't know if you guys in the chat have any idea, please write there. I'm seeing the chat. Ken, if you want to mention something, because of course I could solve everything, but I think it's cooler if people try to think by themselves. I can give some hints, but the first thing I would say about this one is that this one here is a text. So you gotta find a way of extracting those numbers out of this text and then find the largest ones.
So I'm going to, I mean, I have ideas, obviously, but I mean, I don't want to be taking over the whole thing either. So if anybody does have ideas on these ones here, but please, by all means, submit them. I'll throw out, I don't know, something 2-3 functions that are probably ones that I would start to attack it with right off the bat. I think you need something like a text split to be able to actually spill something out into an array. I would probably try and do something like sort it, and I would probably try and take the top 2 items via something like the large function. I'm thinking is the route that I would go at this. Now, I don't know exactly how I'd put it together. I have to play with it, but those are the 3 that I'd be starting with.
That's awesome, because right there with your ideas, it's a different way on how I would do that. Of course, I would text split it, but you mentioned sorting it. I wouldn't sort it. I would just try to find the first and the second largest, because other way would be sort everything ascendingly or descendingly, and then take the first 2 or the last 2. Yep. It would be another way of doing that. So in the same question, that's why the questions, they don't provide a model. They provide only the answers when you have the answers file, because there's not only one way of solving it. It's your model. How do you feel better at handling those questions? So I'm going to start right here by text splitting it. So text split of this text string, and as I call the limiter, space, a minus sign, and then another space. And here we are. Here we have all the numbers split, but the text split function, it spills a text. Even though we can read this is a 41, this particular 41 is a text. It's not a number. So depending on what we need to do, we need to convert that to numbers again. And we can do that by multiplying by 1, adding 0. We can do any mathematical operation to turn that text confined number to a number. And oops, you got some.
And of course, Excel turns it into a date.
Yeah. And also another behavior, I don't know how familiar are our watchers and participants here to the dynamic arrays and also to the spill behavior. So here we have a function, a text split, where we would split the chunks of that information depending on the delimiter I wrote here. So this particular one, a date again. This particular one will be split into 10 pieces. So that's why we got this border, this bluish border over here, because the result will split across 10 different columns.
Yes.
We got some. I'm reading the chat.
Okay,
another Brazilian.
Okay.
We'll get there. Actually, it's not a long formula or not that defines a hard question, because you can solve things in different ways, and I'll show you guys in this very example over here. So first thing, I split this text string into 10 different numbers. So the question asks us to sum the 2 largest ones. I could do, for example, I could use a number 1 here and a number 2 over here. And I could do like large of this array by that. So I want the first largest. Okay. And I could, for example, copy that, paste it here. And instead of 1, I want the second largest. So here we got 90, 70, and then we could sum them, and our answer will be 160, which is the correct answer. So this way of solving things is like a helper column way of solving things, right? You can use whatever you want to the right or below for solving it. So that's a way. How would I solve it?
Oh, for what it's worth, Klinsmann, I see in the chat that Blair's actually posted an alternative all-in-one function, right, with the sum, large value, text split, and then the curly brace 1-2 at the end to get the top two or 1-2 large. What I think is interesting about this personally is that I have no doubt that formula is going to work just fine, and you can write it and you can dump it in there. And if you think that way and that's easy for you to write, then that's great. But if you don't, you can still play with this because you can still run the split, use the helper columns, build it up, and whatever's faster for you in the moment in order to get to the right answer is really cool. I mean, if you find it faster to go through and manually identify them and add them up in your head and drop the values in there, you'll still get the points. And if it's faster for you, then it's the better way in order to solve the challenge, right? Which I think is really interesting about this.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm gonna use that big formula she wrote there. I'm gonna just copy that one from the chat. Just gonna change the delimiters here. So let's see if that happens. Sum large. Just gonna do that now. And as I'm using like Excel in Portuguese, I'm just gonna substitute the commas for semicolons. So the formula worked perfectly, right? So if I got it right and correct, I can just double click, and this particular one has no edge cases. This is a pretty straightforward question, but sometimes there are some tricky conversions that even if you got some of them correct, you may have some of them wrong, depending on the crazy edge cases in the map cases and stuff where you can face all that. So this example I showed you here is like a helper column way of solving things. This one here is like a nested function solution, right? It has the same behavior, but it's just one function inside another. Another way of solving this will be to create a let function. If you are a programmer, we can use the let function to write the same thing here. So let us do that step by step. Do you guys know the let function in the chat? Just let me know if you know the let function.
If you don't, learn it. Best function ever.
Yeah. So the let function lets me do what I did here with helper columns, but as naming variables within the formula itself. So for example, I can right here text split. Okay, and that will be the text split. Where am I? Here of this by that. That's my text split. And then I may write here large 1. And what will be large 1? It will be large of text. Oh, I'm just gonna multiply that by 1 because otherwise it may end up in an error because text split spills text and not numbers. So I want the largest of the text split, but this one is not the function, is the variable I named there, text split. So here you can see that we got a function called text split and an x. I mean, this fx is the function and this x is this specific variable within this formula. So text split, because this one variable is the result of this calculation. So I'm just using something I named here. So I want the first largest from that text split. I'm gonna copy that down, Alt Enter, and now this one will be a large 2. This one will be a 2, and I can name the final step or just calculate it. I may do like something like large 1 plus large 2. So that's the same thing as my helper columns. That's the same thing as Blair's function, but it's within, or it's translated to a let function. So if I, whoops, we got some text split. That's the fun thing about the let function. We got an error, right? It's a number error. We can always change the last part of it and see where things went wrong. So for example, I want you to return the text split one. Jeez. That is strange.
Jamie says E79 should be G79.
Yeah, of course. That's why it didn't split and nothing happened. Yeah. So that's why.
All right.
So
thanks, Jamie.
But that's cool because it forced me to show that you can check each and every step in your calculation. So text split, I'm asking the let function to return the text split variable. The same thing would apply if I would like to return the large one. So you can have all the calculations here and just return what you want. So in this particular case, I want to sum the large one with the large two variables. And that's the same 146. If I drag that down, whoops, I will have the same answers as you have here. So it's another way of solving things. But I'm going to show you another one, which is the data table way of solving things, which I was mentioning that exists since 83 in Lotus 123. So how do we use the data table functionality? First of all, we will use an anchor cell. For example, I'm going to copy those ones over here, and you will understand why. I'm going to copy the example and all the questions, because those numbers here, this one is the question 11, this one is 12, 13, and so on. So I'm going to copy those ones here, and I'm going to paste them here. So why did I do that? First of all, I will use this example cell over here as an anchor cell. What does that mean? I'm going to XLOOKUP that one in the main case. So XLOOKUP, I'm going to XLOOKUP this example one, where I'm going to look that up in case sheet column B, returning from, just let me see, this one is the G column G. So this one is G. So this anchor cell will bring me what's being asked of that specific one. If I put 11 here, it would bring what's on the 11 question over here. So the 11 question over here is 72, 48, which is here. 72, 48, 15, 22. So this way, example 2, this way we can solve one thing here, create our model over here, and then when we have it finished, we can use this functionality, this feature of the data table for Excel, using Excel for solving that for us for each and every case, right? So I'm going to do that very quickly now, just text split. And here I don't need to worry about helper columns and one giant formula. Text split, whoops, text split. This one over here by space dash space times 1. So here we got our number split. I could or could not like write what's here, like a sequence and then large 1, large 2, just for us to, because this is a simple model, but in the harder ones, if you don't name it, you may make some mistakes. So here I want large of that 1, and here I want large of that. The hash operator means that I'm getting whatever size and things that my spilled array is spilling. So I want that 2. Whoops. 2. And now I want the sum. This is that plus that. Okay, so we got our answer. How does data tables work? I'm gonna equals the answer to this corner, and then I'm gonna select all my input values, all my input data, and also in that other corner, the answer that I want. With that pre-selected area, I'm gonna go over here at data, what if analysis, and data table. And what will it do for us? Here I have all my input data in a column. So I'm gonna say, okay, this column that I have, I want each and every number that is there to be placed here. So Excel will iterate all my calculations using 11 instead of example 2, 12 instead of example 2, 15 instead of example 2. And that's how we calculate like multiple scenarios using a data table. Did you understand in the chat? Because this is in this Excel championship environment, we play like, are you a data table team or are you a let team? Because are the main two ways of solving things. Oh, as I can see, Scott didn't know what data tables did.
Blew Scott's mind. That's good. That's one.
Yeah, just for you to understand it like more easily. For example, like a swimming pool, I have the length, I'll have the width, and the depth. Okay, so and here, water volume. Okay, so 10, 5, and 12. Oops. So what would be my the volume? The water volume would be like this one times this one times this one, right? So this is the total volume of my pool. So if I wanted to check one by one, length 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, I could write like that, like sequence. I want, for example, 5 rows starting from 10. So I have 10, 11, 12, 14. This is the answer I want. So I'm going to put it in this diagonal over here, equals that. That is the formula that I want to calculate using those different inputs. So I will select all my inputs and this diagonal, go there to data, what if analysis, and data table. And I'm going to say, okay, this column of mine, so here in column input cell, those are possibilities for my length. So I'm going to say, okay, that length will assume all of these numbers. And it will return all the different water volumes of my swimming pool, considering that the 5 is fixed, the 12 is fixed, but the 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So that's what a data table does. I'm very happy that Scott learned that today, because that's how we were able to solve 130 questions within 30 minutes, you know?
Oh. I think it's more than just Scott. So there you go.
Okay, that's good. I made more friends. Thank you. Awesome. So that's just to show you guys. I think we went through 4 different ways of solving just this simple question over here, like helper columns, one giant formula, the let function, and the data table one. So you can use whatever you need, whatever you want for solving the question. So let's go to the next one, level 3. What is the column number corresponding to each reference below, where A equals 1, B equals 2, C equals 3? So this is something that is not that usual in a daily basis, I would say, depending if you work on finance, on HR, you may not need to work with references. But here is asking, like the words in the alphabet, like A, B, C. A is column 1, B is column 2, C is column 3, and so on. So here I'm asking, you could do this. You could do that by looking at that and maybe creating a sequence 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the just above the headers. But for that, and the question is specific about that, we have the column. I mean, in English it's column, yeah, column function, the row function, and we also have the indirect function. So let's see what this one asks us. So in the example, the reference E19 belongs, or the correspondent column is column 5, because E is the 5th column. How would we get that? Yeah, let's try that. Column G115. Let's see what that formula will bring us. So column G100 and okay, 15 if it is down below. Okay, column of that. So Heather asked that, right? Let's do that. Why is there always a 7 here? That is why the column function and the row function, they get the value based on where we pointed it. Yeah, Blair gave the answer. So when we do that, we're looking at this, even though it's written E19, we're looking at the G113 here. So it's actually bringing us the equivalent of the G column, not the E column, right? So to turn a text into an actual reference, we can use the indirect function. So what we will use is here, like we want the column, but we don't want the column of E19. We want the column of the indirect, because what indirect does, it will turn this text string E19 into an actual reference. So we're like tricking Excel to, okay, even though I'm pointing to G113, I want the content as a reference. Can you understand the difference? And that is why I'm using the indirect function. The indirect function turns a text string into a reference, right? So if I do that, then I'll get the 5 because the column G is the 7th one, but the correct one is the 5th one, which is the equivalent to the letter E. So now we have that. Let's try that one over here. I want a column of the indirect because I'm turning this F10 text into the F10 reference itself, not a text anymore. So now we got the correct answer, right? So if we double click here, this is just a direct application of the indirect function, okay? So just another example, it's not in the question, but for example, let me write that here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay? So I got those numbers over here. So this range is K, that one is K114 to M115. That is the written reference of this. If I want to sum the indirect of this, oops, indirect, not index, indirect, in the,
I think you mean some.
I mixed both languages, my bad. So here we got our 21, because if I'm going to sum that directly over here, sum that, it's 21. So I had this reference here. So the indirect function turns a text into an actual reference. Okay, so that's another example. So far so good. Level 3, okay, let's move on. Level 4, this is a slightly different one. For each question below, how many times does the requested character appear in the provided text string? So for example, we have a bunch of random letters over here, and this particular question asks, how many J's are there? How would you guys in the chat solve this one? This requires at least two steps, but I would like to see how would you guys think of that. You don't need to bring me the perfect formula, just throw your ideas. Let's see.
This is a skill testing question, folks. We're not moving on until someone gives an answer.
You know, instead of someone stepping forward, everyone steps back and then.
Yes. We got a text split and count if as a suggestion. I love the confidence in this one because it has a question mark at the end. So Gary says Len. All right.
Yeah, cool. I will use both of them. We can solve this question with two different approaches. So now that we'll learn how to use a data table, I'm going to use that again just for you to get used to it.
Matt says he'll go with whatever Blair suggests. Brilliant.
Awesome. Just let me do the. I'm going to copy this one, and then I'm just going to switch to this, and then of course a bunch of errors. But then I'm gonna create a new one. So now I don't want just that. I want GH. Oops, GHI. Okay. So now we got all of that. Replace with 1. Oh, look at Jeff. He created like the full let function. I'm gonna test that at the end. So just for you to understand, one way of solving this, I want to see the len of that text string. Okay, so it has 50 characters. Now what I could do is I want to see the len. No, before that, I want to substitute. In this text everything that is a J. I want to substitute for nothing, like a blank double quotes. So now we have a new text string. With this new text string, I want to see the length of it. So length of that. So think with me. If I had 50, and I substituted all the j's for nothing, and now I have 48, how many j's there were? I could do just that minus that, and our answer is 2, right? The same as the answer in the example here. So now that we know how to do a data table, I copied the answer here, and then I'm just gonna select that and data, what if analysis, data table. I'm just gonna change the input cell because my inputs are on the vertical. So as a column, I want those in the column to take the place of this example 4. That's what I'm doing here. Okay, and then we calculate it, all of them. Then how can I put those answers there? I can Control-C and whether Control-Shift-V, but I like to paste link. Oh, Jesus, what did I do wrong? Let's find out. Why is the second one wrong? The second one is the 51. Let me see if I reference something wrong. Okay, so we have a J and we have a text string. Okay, length of that, the new. Oh, here we are. I hard coded a J. I didn't point that to be volatile, let's say that. So that's an example, and that works in the day of the championship. And you don't understand, and when you're gonna check again your model, you're going, oh my God, I don't believe I hard coded something that was supposed to be something that would change. So here we fixed the answer. And that's the perfect example why I particularly like to paste links, because all the links are pasted. Now that I refreshed my answer, all of the links are here, but the answers are different. So now is everything correct? Did you get that? So this particular way is the classic way, len minus len of substitute. That's one way. But nowadays, we got the regex functions, right? So with the regex functions, what can we do? Regex extract. That is my first text string, right? Now is the pattern. I don't know regex, but I know the specific patterns that we need for some Excel championship questions. So this particular one is like double quotes, dot, double quotes. That will return to me like one spot. And then the last argument of the regex extract function is that I want all matches. So I want each and every spot separately. So by doing that, I did a text split place by place. So here's my text split one by one, right? So now that we have this beautiful 50 characters long sequence, I can count if, oh my God, count if this range, if that's, oops, count if this range, if that's equals to that particular letter. Make sense for you guys? Have you ever seen the regex functions?
Hey, Klinsmann, I'm just curious, what happens if you do a regex extract and instead of using the dot, what if you extract just a G? Like if you go quote G quote, will it extract just those characters so you could then just sum them?
Yeah, you can count them. Yeah, yeah. That's a
so then you can just sum it and you're good to go there as well. That's interesting.
Not summing, but counting them, right?
Oh, sorry. Yes, correct.
Yeah. Or summing or calls of that. Like another function would be calls. Oh my God, calls in Portuguese, columns in English. Columns of that. Oops. And why columns? Because I decided to split that way. If I had a transpose, I would have to change it to rows. So that's, you got to be aware of how are you modeling your model, right?
Yeah, so many options.
Yeah, and another one would be like a text split of that by that delimiter. That will return in five or six chunks here. 6 ones. 6. So I know that it's the number minus 1, right? Because it's the instances it happens. So it's another way of doing that. Like it's the same one, like columns of that minus 1. Because here are the chunks, not the instances where I split the. Okay. So can you see? This is our everyday as someone who solves cases or tries and participates in the competition, because with the simple question about splitting and finding how many characters we have, we used the len function, the substitute function, two ways of using the regex extract. There's another one of splitting the text and just doing this workaround with -1. So that's how we learn. And that's how it's the coolest way, the title of this presentation, right? Because then you do that by yourself. And sometimes you got stuck at level 3. Oh my God, I couldn't solve level 3. And then you'll search on YouTube and you get in touch with someone on LinkedIn, and you'll be part of this community, and everyone's so helpful. I'm trying to be as helpful as the other pro players were with me. So I'm just giving it back to you guys. So this is just a real life example on how will you feel if you participate or if you're part of this community. So we got level 4 solved until how many points we have? 340. The maximum points are 1,250. 1,000 for the regular questions, 1 to 7, and always the bonus questions add up to 250. So 1,250 is the max score. Okay, level 5. For each question below, perform a sum on the numeric chain presented, but only for the number presented. That's interesting. It's kind of similar to this one we just did. So let's move on. I'm going to copy this one just to use the data table structure. I'm going to copy the example as the input data, paste it here. Of course, all of that we won't use anymore because it's a different thing. So this is even easier depending on how you approach it, because now you have the delimiters. We can use a text split here. And I'm going to use not as columns, but as rows. So the delimiter will be the semicolon. So now we have all our numbers. So the question was to sum only the numbers presented or asked. So I want to sum all the 7s here. Sum ifs, let's try that. Sum if or sum ifs. I want to sum this one where the criteria is that one. Too few arguments. Okay, the criteria range is the same. Yeah, my bad. And now. Okay. And why is there a 0? Any guesses in the chat? I'm trying to sum this where this equals 7. Why didn't the sum work here?
Yeah, Heather says you got text.
Yep, perfect. So that's why I mentioned back then I could do like just here, ×1. And then all my spilled array will be turned into numbers, and then the numbers will work. Or another workaround. Yeah, but here, I couldn't do that here because this is a result of a function. But I could do like, I don't know. Yeah, if I had a 7, I could use that between quotes to force it to be a text, right? So in this example, the best option is just to turn everything to numbers. But if that number was a fixed number, I could turn that into a text, right?
Yeah, or the value function would work.
The value function.
Yeah. As Jeff pointed out, yeah.
Yeah. So now that I have the correct answer, I remember I copied the sheet, so my data table is correct. I just gotta reappoint that one here because it's waiting to use all those numbers to bring that to go through all my model, and then the final answer I brought here. So I can just copy those ones and paste the links over here, and you got a full score on this one. Ken, please tell me it's 2 p.m. for me. I don't know how much time do we have. If we'll open to questions, you lead the way, please.
Let's do one more, and then maybe we can wrap up for today if that works for you.
Perfect. Do you want me to solve another question, or let's jump for one of the bonuses?
Let's jump down to one of the ones that use the map.
Oh, the question that use a map?
Yeah, because that one you got a whole table issue there that you got to sort out, I believe.
Perfect.
If I recall correctly.
Yeah. Oh, the bonus which uses the map. That's one, right? Okay, we got a bonus that uses the map. Perfect. So there are two. How many times does the most frequent number appear on the map spreadsheet? So we got the map sheet over here. And the question is, how many times the most frequent number appears? That's the question. We can do that in a lot of ways. So one way I would do that is like to call. I would to call everyone here, just for me to have like a vector, right? After that, I will do a unique over here. So the unique function, oops, not Unicode, unique here, yeah, of this one. The unique function removes duplicates, right? Then I can count ifs, because I should count the most frequent one, right? So let's count each and every one. Count if. That's the range. And this one here is the criteria. So here I know how many of those we have over here, right? So let's read again the question. How many? It's not asking what's the number. It's asking how many times it happens, because that's another mistake we can make in the competitions, because those are the numbers. Because here they're all 1 to 9 numbers. So sometimes it asks the number, and sometimes it asks how many times. So that's a common mistake. So I can just get the max of those ones, which is 81. Let's see. Control C. Paste link. 81. And I don't know how much time did we spend, but in this time we got 600 points. And that's how the competition works. How many points can you get within the 30 minutes countdown, 30 minutes mark? Cool, Gary.
Yeah, I think we need to read that. So Gary's comment, just for the video, because we don't always get the chat in with that, is that he's got to clean up his the floor from his head blowing up so many times. I mean, but it is fun, right? I mean, this is kind of interesting, and I have to say that for me personally, when Klinsmann said, "Hey, I want to come and do this," I'm like, "Oh, how's this going to work, man? Really? Do we?" And we spent an hour on this. And we had a lot of fun with it, and I'll tell you, after the call, when Klinsmann and I got off, he sent me the case, and I'm going to actually include this in the uploads to the meetup site later. But for me, I wasn't as interested in going through and competing with this on a time basis, but what it actually inspired me to think is, can I solve every one of these questions using Power Query? So I actually went through, and now there's a 30-minute time limit on this case. Remember, I spent an hour and a half going through and coming up with a Power Query based solution for every single question in this case, and could verify that I got to the right answer. But it was just an interesting thing to say, can I look at this differently? Can I expand my skills, or can I solve these problems? So yeah, just kind of a neat thing that I thought was a lot of fun. So I mean, hopefully you all had some fun sort of watching this and whatnot. And I know Klinsmann would be super inspired if people started to actually go and compete in these things as well. But for me, it's just, you know, the opportunity to look at it and test your skills on some of these things in a way like this it's just interesting. It really is. So anyway, back to you, man.
No, just from my perspective, Ken was the first person ever I saw solving a full case just with Power Query. He sent me his file after he solved it, and I have never seen, because of course I'm used to use Power BI. I use Power Query, and I know a bit of DAX. I don't know M. I'm an UI user of Power Query, so I don't know the advanced M language. But I had no idea how would Ken solve the map ones using Power Query and getting the rows, the columns, creating the references and pivoting all of that. And it was very interesting from my perspective to see Ken solving that fully, completely, and acing the case using only Power Query. That was awesome. And there's no videos on YouTube about that. If you want to create this branch.
Well, listen, it's not a skill that I would try and use in a competition, though, because I mean, you know, like I say, I mean, it took me an hour and a half to go through the case. If there's a 30-minute time limit, I'm dead in the water. I mean, you know, and there's a comment that was made earlier on this, like, you don't get any points for approach or style, right? So for me, being able to go and solve it Power Query style, it's like, I'm not going to win that, because guess what? I'm still working on question 2 and everybody else is finished using formula. So it depends on what the goal is, right? On the other hand, you could update any single number in this case, and I just press the refresh button and I'm complete. So mine comes from the second time around, not the first time. So, but like I say, I'll get that file uploaded as well to the meetup site when we're doing this, so that people can actually see that if they're interested in playing around with it too. So And I can see you said Gabe was a competitor from Brazil, and I see Gabe's coming and encouraging people to compete as well, for sure. So, very cool stuff.
And it's interesting that, of course, it's a competition. There's a time limit of 30 minutes, but even if you don't want to compete, of course, you gotta pay for the tickets. But you don't need to compete. You can pay and then get the answers file and solve it at home with flip-flops, drinking something. I mean, your tea, your coffee at home, because it's a
something
fun way
stronger.
Yeah, I carefully took my words because I don't know this.
Whatever you need to do. Yeah, exactly. So
I hope you all have liked it, because that's the content. We could solve more questions, but you can find, and in the presentation I showed you here, there's this link. Ken will send you this presentation. With this link, you can go directly to the FM World Cup, which is the company who runs the championship, and download the free ones. You just gotta log in. You gotta have an account, but you can download them for free, those ones.
Cool stuff. Yeah, we'll make sure that link gets included as well when we post the stuff. So just a quick reminder for folks on this one here. We will get the video produced, but because I'm out of office this week, it won't be uploaded until Monday. At that point in time, we'll definitely post to the Meetup site and let everybody know that it is there, and we'll make sure that the links are in that and whatnot as well. So awesome. And I think at this point, Klinsmann, if we can wrap it up for today, I've got to run to some other appointments, but thanks so much for coming and doing this. This is this is a lot of fun, a really interesting way to look at it. And definitely it's great to be able to sort of look at different approaches and learn from the different formulas and approaches that people take to it. I think I had a blast with it. And I really appreciate you bringing this up as a suggestion for the meetup. Tons of fun. So.
My pleasure. Thank you, Ken, for having me here. Thanks for everyone in the chat who had the patience of taking your time and see what this Brazilian guy with this nonsense championship wants to bring up here. But if you guys want, you can contact me. There's always a LinkedIn contact in the file. You can reach out to me. I can send you more information, channels with full solutions on YouTube and stuff like that. So I'm up to whatever you want to talk to me.
Awesome. Thanks very much, folks. We'll shut her down for today, and we'll see y'all hopefully next time. Don't forget the RSVPs for our next meetups are open. Thanks again, Klinsmann, for this, and hopefully we'll have you back to do something similar in the future for another fun round of it. So,
of course.
Till next time, everyone.